Let's start at the beginning of this story. I'm a 45-year-old. I'm a 45-year-old married man with a loving wife of 37 years. We've built a strong and enduring relationship over the years, filled with love, understanding, and support. Together, we've weathered life's ups and downs, celebrating our triumphs and finding solace in each other during challenging times. Or so I thought. I work in the sales department of a big firm. My job requires long work hours, and I often go on site to sell our solar panels to our clients. My clients are usually wealthy and influential people, and interacting with them has its perks. I get to build strong relationships and understand their specific needs and preferences, which is really rewarding. It's great to see the positive impact our solar panels have on their energy consumption and the environment. Due to my hectic work schedule, I don't have much time for my personal life, which has put a strain on our relationship. It's challenging to find a balance between work and personal life, which causes feelings of guilt and frustration from my end. On the other hand, my wife is a homemaker, and I make enough money to support us both. My wife decided to take care of the house, and I supported her choice. I believe in respecting each other's decisions, and I'm grateful for my wife's dedication and hard work in creating a comfortable home for us. She said that having kids would affect our relationship, so we decided not to have them. She wanted nothing to come between us. She said that she valued our relationship above all else, and that having children could potentially create complications and strain our bond. She expressed her desire to prioritize our connection and maintain a strong foundation without any external factors interfering. I was respectful of her decision. I was really happy to see how much she loved me. My wife, who is very careful about housework, seemed to lose interest a few days ago. When I asked her about it, she said she just didn't feel like it. I thought it might just be a phase where she wants to relax at home and take a break from her usual duties. But as the days went by, as time went on, I couldn't help but wonder if there was more to it. Her total disdain for maintaining our house without any good reason seemed out of character. I suggested she take a few days off and go on a trip with her friends to unwind and clear her head. She'll be able to see things from a different angle and return to I think she'll be able to face any obstacles that come up. Plus, she'll get the support she needs and make happy memories that'll help lift her spirits during this difficult time. She's really happy about this plan, and it's already made her feel better. She showed me the itinerary for the roughly week-long trip. She and her girlfriends were planning a long trip for the coming days. They were going to travel to other cities and check out a range of tourist destinations. The plan was to make the most of their week. She was on a long vacation, which included shopping, sightseeing, and sampling local cuisine. She was slowly returning to her joyful self, which made me glad. I was too preoccupied with my work to give her the time and attention she required. I thought she deserved a break from this boredom. As I was going to work, she waved farewell and requested that I not worry about dropping her off because she would be picking up her friends on the way. I didn't think much of it and left as usual, asking her to enjoy her road trip. It all started with a persistent uneasy feeling that gradually became more obvious to me. It was like an instinct telling me something was off. My spouse, who was traveling with her friends, hardly returned my calls and would instead send me a brief text message indicating that she was too exhausted to chat. But since I was so consumed by love and trust I was too afraid to face my concerns, so I chose to believe in the vows of devotion and loyalty that I thought my wife and I shared. I brushed off any doubts as paranoia. I had no idea that behind the surface a lie was being spoken and our relationship was becoming more and more strained. Over time, subtle contradictions and odd behaviors began to chip away at the facade, making me doubt everything I had assumed to be true about our marriage. One day, I was driving by my new client's gorgeous mansion tucked away in lush gardens when I stopped to check on the solar panel installation site. There it was. My wife's distinctive car in front of me. I felt a strong urge to look into it more. According to my wife's itinerary, she wasn't meant to be in the city. I continued to deny that it might be someone else's vehicle. After a while, I walked up to the villa and watched the the scene played out in front of me, unfolding in silence. I saw something I never would have expected. My wife was smiling and chatting with a man inside the property, totally unaware of my presence. It was as if she'd found a new lease of life and happiness that didn't include me. The realization hit me like a ton of bricks, leaving me questioning everything I thought I knew about our relationship. A man in a sharp business suit came out as I rang the doorbell. I watched, and much to my dismay, my wife came out and made love to this stranger. I was shocked and upset by what I saw. The scene unfolded slowly, and I felt numb, confused, and devastated. I stood still, unwilling to face the reality that was being revealed to me. I began to cry. I was so hurt by the betrayal. I started to doubt everything I had previously believed to be true about our relationship. I was frozen as the man kept asking me to do business with him, and I felt so numb I couldn't even think to talk. My wife got up from his side and went inside to change into some more clothes. I stumbled around until I found my voice and told him I was just here to survey the area. The man seemed pleased with my answer when I told him I was there to install solar panels. He told me he was the property owner and that he'd been expecting someone to come and check out the location. I wasn't sure whether to carry on with the inspection or just go back to my car and drive away, but curiosity got the better of me. The man started talking to me about his ideas for renewable energy on his land as we made our way to the location. He was attractive and well-built. He'd built and made it a pleasant place to be. I started looking over the land right away, hoping to see my wife. After showing such tenderness to another man, I think she felt bad about showing herself to me. I kept looking around the land, but my thoughts kept returning to the agonizing experience of seeing my wife's love for someone else. I was still reeling from the sorrow. I was still feeling uneasy about the betrayal as I looked for any sign that she was there in the aftermath of this shocking discovery. I found myself grappling with a whirlwind of emotions. Anguish, anger, and confusion consumed me as questions plagued my mind. How long has this affair been going on? Did I miss any signs? Who was this man my wife had become involved with? These questions were rife with self-doubt. I was filled with doubt and pain as I began the difficult task of confronting my wife about her infidelity. As I mustered the courage to confront her, I couldn't help but wonder if our entire relationship had been a lie. The betrayal was painful and left me questioning not only her actions but also my own judgment. I knew that the conversation ahead would be difficult, but it was necessary for us to face the truth and decide the fate of our marriage. My wife came back after the road trip she'd planned to go on. The confrontation that followed was filled with tears, accusations, and empty promises. The person I once adored had transformed into a stranger. I could no longer trust her. The pain of betrayal lingered in the air as we exchanged harsh words. Each of us was trying to defend our own perspective. I was left speechless as she accused me of her actions. Her words cut deep. It left me stunned and questioning everything. It felt like the foundation of our trust had crumbled beneath us, leaving only a bitter taste of disbelief in my mouth. She said that because of my inconsistent work schedule, she was seldom alone at home and found it impossible to be happy. She told me how difficult it was for her to be happy because of my erratic schedule, which frequently made her feel alone in our empty house. She tried to keep a happy attitude. But being alone all the time affected how happy she felt. I said that it was her decision not to work and her decision not to have kids. She couldn't blame me for that because I'd always respected her decisions and followed them without question. This is what I got in return. I had done so much for her, and in return she had broken my trust and left a gaping hole in our relationship. I couldn't help but wonder if our marriage could ever be fixed. After this confrontation, I had endless nights of tossing and turning, thinking about the future and what I wanted from my marriage. I wondered if I could ever regain the trust that was shattered and if staying in this relationship was worth the emotional toll it was taking on me. As I thought about this, I realized that rebuilding trust would require both effort and a willingness to forgive. Ultimately, though, the decision of whether to salvage our marriage or move on rested solely in my hands. I knew that it would be a long and challenging journey, but I also understood that staying in a relationship solely out of fear or obligation would not lead to genuine happiness. It was time for me to prioritize my own well-being. I had to make a choice that aligned with my values and aspirations for the future. Also, my wife didn't follow me after she was caught. It was a really tough time for me. I couldn't get over how little she seemed to care about what I was going through. It was a painful realization that my wife's lack of support was making things worse for me. I felt really betrayed and abandoned. The words of my wife, saying that she would be willing to lead a happy life being the mistress of a rich guy, really hurt me. They hurt me a lot. She said that she would be happy with a rich guy. She said that she would be happy to be the. I was really hurt and betrayed. I felt like she'd chosen material wealth over our love, and it made me question the authenticity of our relationship. Was she always this person? Have I seen something different for all these years? Was everything she showed me just an act? These questions were on my mind, making me doubt the authenticity of our relationship. I started to view memories of moments shared together in a different way, wondering if there was something else going on. I hadn't seen the real her. I was left wondering if she felt any remorse or guilt for what she'd done. It made me question her moral compass and empathy towards others. Her lack of remorse suggested she didn't care about the consequences of her actions, which could have serious implications for those around her, the way she defended herself. Her actions, even after she knew she was in the wrong, showed that she still had no remorse and was not willing to take responsibility. This could damage our relationship and make it difficult for me to trust or rely on her in the future. She needs to think about how her actions affect others and try to understand their feelings. Redditors, I stand here before you today, an open forum where empathy and advice thrive, seeking solace and wisdom. How does one navigate the treacherous path of healing from such an immense betrayal? Please share your stories, advice, and kind words for those who have experienced similar pain in order to find some semblance of peace. The journey of healing from betrayal can be arduous and overwhelming as it shakes the very foundation of trust and leaves deep emotional scars. It is crucial to remember that you're not alone in this. Reaching out to others who've been through similar things can be really helpful. Together, we can find support, strength, and a way forward after betrayal. Even the strongest people can feel overwhelmed by pain and emotional upheaval. My wife's infidelity with a mysterious businessman has left me feeling devastated and struggling to find my feet. I'm hoping to find solace, advice, and strength from those who have encountered similar trials on their life's journey to those who have ever faced the agony of infidelity or betrayal. Your stories, words of encouragement, and advice are invaluable. Let's heal, grow, and ultimately find the strength to move forward despite the scars of betrayal. I never thought I would find myself in this situation questioning everything I thought. I was aware of my marriage difficulties, and the pain and confusion are overwhelming. However, I believe that by sharing my story and connecting with others who have experienced similar hardships, we can find the support and guidance needed to navigate this difficult path towards healing and rebuilding our lives. Let us come together as a community to uplift each other and find the resilience to move forward, knowing that we are not alone in our struggles. I get where you're coming from, but I don't think there's anything wrong with what your wife has done. She just wants you to spend quality time with her, not run after money. It's important to find a balance between work and your personal life, and your wife's concern for quality time together is valid. However, it's also important to acknowledge the importance of financial stability, and providing for your family's needs. If you can find a compromise that satisfies both of you, that could be a constructive way forward. If she found that balance with someone else, you are the one to blame. You pushed her to her extremes to take such a step. All she wanted from you was love, attention, and a little acknowledgement. You failed in providing her with the basic necessities in a loving relationship. She chose someone who provided her with all of those things. I get it. I was in a similar situation a few years ago. My wife was cheating on me with my business partner. He would come to my place to discuss business all the time. When I was away on pitches, he would leave early or ask me to go alone. One day, I forgot my pitch and went home to get it. I saw his car parked outside my house. I thought he'd come to accompany me, so I went inside. I couldn't believe my eyes. They were both lying naked in my bed. That's when I decided not to trust another woman ever again. I found that women all around the world are just plain materialistic. They jump from one man to another once they find out he has money or possessions. They prioritize wealth and material gain. This stereotype suggests that women are only interested in financial security and ignores their individual desires, aspirations, and the complexities of their relationships. However, it is important to recognize that this is an unfair and inaccurate generalization that does not represent the diverse experiences and values of women globally. Sometimes it's better to look at someone's background before getting involved. You get them into your life. Intimacy is the most powerful thing that two people who love each other can share. When someone shares their body with their partner, they go outside their relationship and share their body and soul with another person. I don't understand it. In African countries, it is believed that when you share your body with someone else, you exchange energy with that person. It can be good or bad energy. If you sleep with or share a body with a witch or someone with negative energy, the energy will simply be transferred to you. I mean, how would you risk yourself like that, no matter how much you love your partner? You have to respect your vows to each other and to God and your loved ones. I know I can come across as arrogant sometimes, but what my wife did really hurt me to a point that I started to doubt myself and my capabilities as a man. Every man wants to marry a faithful, respectful, submissive, and loving person. Someone who would warm your house and make it feel like home. A wife who respects herself and her relationship. If she wasn't satisfied or bored, why not communicate with your partner and address the issues? Instead of going out of your marriage and taking your marital problems to another person, use them to improve your own marriage. I know someone who went through something similar, so I'm not alone in this. Please tell me how you dealt with it. Before I do, let me tell you what happened. I was 35 when I met my wife, who was 28. I'd gone to Starbucks because I was late for work. I wanted a latte to take with me as I started my busy morning. I walked in and saw her minding her own business, not helping her customers. I called out for her to get me assistance because I'd been standing for almost 5 minutes without being helped. She started speaking, and her voice was so calm and sweet. She explained herself and told me she was new there. I just ordered a latte with coconut milk. I couldn't stop thinking about her. I'm a real estate agent. I sell luxury houses in Beverly Hills. I work for Prestige California Houses Agency. I love my job, but I was also working on starting. I've got a couple of properties in Louisiana as a backup investment. That morning, I was meeting a very important client, but I couldn't stop thinking about this gorgeous woman I'd seen the day before. I went to Starbucks hoping I'd see her. It was before 5 in the afternoon. I knew she hadn't finished her shift because I was right. She was serving other customers. I waited for her as soon as I got there. She already knew what I was going to order. I kept going to Starbucks, not only for my morning latte, but also to see her. 2 weeks passed, and I couldn't stop thinking about her. I decided to go for it. I asked her out, which took a lot of back and forth as I was about to give up. She eventually said yes, and then gave me her number. From that day on, we were inseparable. We spent a lot of our free time together, and I enjoyed every moment. She always told me to be less arrogant because it would make people dislike me. I knew I didn't care what other people thought of me, but she changed that. She made me soft somehow. She made me less arrogant, and my love for her grew each day we were together. After 2 years, I proposed. I couldn't wait to make her my wife. She was what and who I needed in my life. So we got married 2 months after I proposed. We moved to a lovely neighborhood. After I proposed, I wanted her to be a housewife. I was able to afford it and provide for her, so she didn't need to work at Starbucks. She agreed to become a housewife, but she asked me to let her start her own business from home, which I was happy to do. She wanted to set up an online business, so I gave her my full support. A year into our marriage, my life changed. I was always busy, but when I had a moment to myself, I would spend it with my wife. She understood that I I was a busy guy, and that was one of the things I loved most about her. Even though she stayed home all day, she knew how to keep herself busy. She would do workouts in the morning and yoga afterwards before she started her day. We never had serious arguments or fights, but we would argue about small things like decisions. I was the man of the house. My marriage has been good ever since we moved to this neighborhood on the north side of Hollywood. My neighbors were kind people and very humble, especially my next-door neighbor. I found out that he owned a gym in our neighborhood, and his wife is a book writer. They were the first people to welcome us when we first moved in, and that's how we got to know each other. We became good friends, and my neighbor was the one who introduced us to the other neighbors. We would have a neighborhood gathering twice a week called Wine Wednesday. Since I was always busy, I was always late, but my wife was always there. My neighbor was the one who hosted the gathering, so it was sometimes difficult to decline. I would sometimes not feel like going, but I had to show up for my wife's sake as much as for my neighbor's. Well, that was what I thought. I had noticed that he was a little too close to my wife. I wasn't jealous though. As I said, we became good friends. They exercised at his gym and did yoga together. I thought that was why they were close. He also had a young, beautiful wife, but my wife was far superior. He once came to fix my kitchen sink because it was leaking and I wasn't around. My wife asked him to fix it. I got annoyed and asked her why she didn't call the plumber. She said I was overreacting and that the neighbor's wife was at the house. So she told her that the kitchen sink was leaking. She said she was the one who asked her husband to fix it for us. She even told me that they were being. She was friendly and helpful, but I had a feeling something was off. The way she spoke made it seem like she had been rehearsing her lines all day. I just took a deep breath and told her that next she should call the plumber. Was I being too dramatic about this whole thing? Ever since that day, our relationship, it's been a bit of a rocky road since then. I've been wondering why we'd spend time together like we used to, but there was something different about it. I've always had a good instinct about these things. So when my conscience told me that something was wrong, I listened. All of a sudden, she started buying new clothes and a new set of perfumes. She changed a lot, to the point that every Wednesday she would be wearing a different outfit, dressed to impress with a red lipstick. I tried to address the issue by trying to trap her in a conversation, but she said she was trying something new. I trusted her because she was always home. I knew she wouldn't do me dirty if I had a day off. I would go to the gym and work out with them, but every time I joined them it would get awkward. I got promoted at my job and I was made senior partner because of my work ethics. My new position means a new schedule back-to-back with work, to be continued. I also had back-to-back meetings, and I started arriving late at home. I was so busy at work that I no longer went to the gathering. My wife and I started to argue more often because I would sometimes not keep promises because I would forget. She no longer understood. My wife started to suspect me of cheating at work. I love my wife and I would never do that. I respected my job, my wife and my colleagues, which is why I had never even shared a hug with them. I was always professional at work, but that's when I started suspecting my wife was cheating on me. I felt like I was being compared to someone else. Time went by and I started to realize my wife was always on her phone, like she was waiting for someone to text back. She also started to work. She was going out twice a day, which made me think something was up. She changed her diet, but she still dressed to impress. I wondered why the sudden change because I had never complained about her weight or her dressing code. Something was definitely going on. Was I also getting paranoid? I once saw my neighbor staring at my wife. She didn't notice, but I ignored it. One day I saw them talking to each other, but what caught my attention was their eye contact. My wife didn't see me until she heard the neighbor greeting me. She got shocked. I was starting to think there might be something going on between them. If there wasn't, why would she be so shocked and panicking? I decided I needed to be a gentleman and not jump to any conclusions. I needed to address the issue properly. So I did what any man who loves his wife would do. I told her. She should stop going to Wine Wednesday, which led to a huge argument. I also wanted to cancel going to the neighbor's gym, but I didn't want to be seen as controlling. I sensed that something was happening between those two. So I had to investigate to get to the bottom of everything. I had a feeling that whatever I found out would be bad. It would have been a bit over the top to send a private investigator to keep an eye on my wife. So I decided to play the long game and wait for the right moment to catch them out. I started arriving home at different times, sometimes just parking 5 houses away. I even started going to my neighbor's house, which was about 5 houses away from mine, just to see who was visiting my wife. I was desperate for answers, but to my surprise, I got nothing. It seemed like she was playing it safe around the neighborhood. I still had doubts though, and I knew something was up. So I decided to go to the gym one afternoon, and to my surprise, my wife wasn't there. I rushed home, including my neighbor, and she wasn't there either. My mind started racing as I tried to figure out where she was. I tried calling her phone, but it went straight to voicemail, which made me suspicious. I was angry that my wife would actually betray me. I trusted her, yes, but I wasn't giving her enough time and attention because of work. That didn't mean she should get attention from another man. Was I paranoid? My wife had changed, and it made me doubt my decisions to make her my wife and move to this neighborhood. I had always wanted to move to the north side of Hollywood, but I had never thought that moving to this side would actually change my wife. I had thought she was humble and quiet, but I had been wrong. Another thing that I had noticed but never put my mind to was that when I got home, she was no longer meeting me at the door to welcome me. She used to greet me with a kiss when I got home from work and prepare me a nice bath. After that, she would cook me a delicious dinner. I fell in love with her every day and appreciated the way she treated me and showed me respect as her man. Over time, it changed. In fact, it changed after I went to a few Wine Wednesday gatherings. I trusted her. You know, I thought that since she came from a good family with good life lessons, she'd take what she was taught with her when we started getting along. She was so humble and precious. She was so innocent and fragile, and she made me promise never to hurt her. She made me put my arrogant self aside and think like a real man. I've been in relationships with different women, but none of them were a match for Maureen. Some of the women I dated, they were just after my money. They loved what I was offering, not me as I was. There was this other one I dated. She had the qualities of a wife. I loved her, but I was still chasing dollars and didn't have much time with her, so she stayed until she got tired and decided to leave. I found out 2 months later that she was engaged with someone else. A few months later, I found out she was engaged to someone else. When I met Maureen, I realized my previous girlfriend didn't measure up. Maureen was the full package, she was wife material. She made me value time and give her attention, and I appreciated that. I still appreciate it. That's one thing I appreciated and still appreciate about my ex. My girlfriend was always honest with me. She told me she was getting tired of waiting for me when I was chasing the papers. She even told me what she wanted in a partner. She was never afraid to tell me the truth. Maureen, but she never raised her concerns. She'd just keep quiet and pretend everything was fine when it wasn't. She preferred bottling things up and not sharing them with me as her partner. I know I wasn't a perfect husband, but I needed her to open up anyway. When I found out she wasn't at home, I called her neighbor's wife to ask if my wife was with her. I was getting worried even though I knew she was up to no good. The neighbor's wife confirmed that Mean was not with her. I decided it was time to become an FBI on my wife. What she was doing was against the vows she had made to me and God. The neighbor was also breaking his wife's vows. It was an absolute disgusting abomination. I waited until she came back, which was pretty late. I knew she was with the neighbor because when I called her, she told me she'd gone home to visit her family. She came back looking drunk, greeted me, and went to our bedroom suite. She didn't even look me in the eye or offer me a kiss. I got the feeling she was guilty of something, so I decided to check her phone. I was surprised to see that she'd changed her passwords, as she'd never done that before. I mean, she was my wife, and we trusted each other. There shouldn't have been any secrets between us. She even knew my passwords and my bank pins. So I decided to find a way to check her phone because it showed that she was. I had a feeling she was hiding something, but I didn't know what. I hoped it wouldn't affect our relationship or our marriage. A month passed with her acting like a teenager, sneaking in when I was asleep and going out when I was at work. I called the CCTV company and asked them to connect the cameras around the house and put another one outside. Facing the neighbor's house, I knew it was a bit creepy, but I had to find out what was going on in my house when I was at work. There's a proverb that says, "What happens in the dark always finds its way to the light." So what I was doing was putting what was going on in the dark into the light. The next day the IT guys came and did their job. I was happy that I would be able to discover the truth that my wife had been hiding. Nothing stays hidden forever anyway. So it was either I find it myself or get someone else to find it for me. But because I respected my wife and our marriage, I decided to dig the truth out for myself. I had to know what my so-called wife was hiding from me. My wife was hiding things from me. I could feel it. My palms would sweat, my heart would beat faster as I had to check the footage every time I got home from work. One thing I was grateful for with these cameras was that I was able to even watch what was happening in my house when I was at work. My wife's behavior really made me act like an obsessed psycho or a stalker. I didn't want to awaken the arrogant animal inside me. I was already in a bad place mentally, and if I'd acted rashly, I would have ended up hurting more and for something I had no proof of. I started being an arrogant person when I was still in high school. I was bullied a lot because I had come from a poor background and my parents couldn't afford my fees, so I was helped by a scholarship. It was not easy having to deal with bullies at school and to deal with the absent father. Even though he was there, I don't think you'll understand what I'm trying to say. I then told myself that no matter what I did, I would do it for my mother and be arrogant like my father because it helped him a lot. People wouldn't take advantage of him because they knew that if they tried to provoke him, it would be World War III. He never cared about anyone else but him anyway. That's enough about that. I got home and went to my little office that day. I'd found Morn at home. She'd even prepared dinner for us, which was very surprising because I don't know when I last had dinner prepared by her. In my mind, the only thing that could make it up to her